According to ASHBA, fundamental movement skills are an acquisition of motor control, precision, and accuracy in the performance of physical literacy. For the purpose of this assignment, we are focusing on the fundamental movement skill of striking. Striking is an action whereby a piece of equipment, an object, or an extremity is used in a swinging motion to hit another object. Striking is used in activities and sports such as tennis, baseball, softball, cricket, badminton, and bat tennis. Striking is fundamental to student learning and movement because it allows students to explore the non-locomotor movement skills of stability, including swinging, twisting, turning, and balancing. The combination of these skills effectively allow for the manipulation of a strike. It is important for student learning as the movement skills associated with striking cannot solely be relied upon throughout maturation. Children need to be instructed, encouraged, and given opportunity to develop the skill. Striking is introduced into the curriculum at level 2 and is mastered at level 5. It is introduced at this level because students have already gained and discussed some knowledge in relation to basic movements and body awareness. According to the Victorian curriculum, prior to level 2, students have learned to perform basic fundamental movement skills and patterns such as throwing, running, catching, and bouncing. By the time students have reached level 2, they can begin to combine the basic fundamental motor skills and movement patterns during group activities and in diverse environments. Students also start to make original movements in response to stimuli and have a better sense of spatial awareness.
It is important to include the modification of equipment when teaching a fundamental movement skill to develop a diverse group of learners and learning levels. Teaching striking, begin with a single-handed strike with no equipment. This is vital to allow students to explore the way their body moves without focusing on equipment. Then introduce a large ball that is lightweight and soft using the hand to strike the ball. For those students that need more of a challenge, introduce a smaller ball to create a harder target. When you introduce a striking object, present something that is safe and fun for the students. Here you can see we have introduced a newspaper bat, as it is not too heavy for young students, which allows them to still focus on the movement of the strike rather than the bat. Also, if dropped or thrown, it will not hurt anybody, creating a safe environment. Moving on, introduce a bat tennis racket as it has a larger surface area, making it easier for students to strike the ball. As students develop into higher year levels, begin to focus on a double-handed strike by introducing a baseball bat and tee. The use of the tee allows students to still focus on striking a stationary object whilst performing the movement. Ensure that the tee is modified to each student's hip height to achieve a successful strike. To ensure a safe environment for Level 2 students, it is important to consider the surroundings. For example, having students hit into nets ensures that they can purely focus on executing the strike without having to be aware of hitting external objects. When students get to level 5, perhaps begin to create games where the focus skill is incorporated. For example, a game of T-ball where each student hits 3 consecutive balls and runs to a base before fielding commences. In doing so, students can practice the skill and learn sportsmanship at the same time. At the beginning of a lesson, the teacher should stand in front of the students with them seated. This is when you would have a discussion with the students to find out what they already know about striking as a fundamental movement skill. Here you can directly engage with students by encouraging them to participate in answering questions. To establish a safe environment when the teacher is wanting to talk, all students should have their equipment placed beside them on the ground or underneath their foot. This stops temptations in misbehaviour and distracting other students.
Teachers have found that students learn best when instructions are focused on a single skill. To begin with, the teacher should demonstrate step by step how to strike. Key teaching point 1. Standing side on, feet hip width apart and bent knees. Key teaching point 2. Making a high five position with your dominant hand and ball out in front. Key teaching point 3. Strike the ball, following through to give yourself a hug. It is important to provide demonstrations to students so they can see and hear how a strike should be performed. It is vital to also draw students' attention to how their legs pivot and hips twist to help them gain momentum to complete a full range of motion. making sure the teacher highlights that the student needs to step forward with their opposite foot to their dominant hand to execute the strike. Allow students to explore what you have demonstrated on how to strike a ball. As students are practicing, teachers should wander around to help students refine their common errors. Some common errors are failure to have correct stance. This can be rectified by moving students' hips and legs into the correct position. Failure to transfer weight between feet. This can be fixed by placing the target far enough in front to ensure that the student must step forward to reach it. Improper grip of equipment. This can be rectified by a quick demonstration of having the dominant hand gripping above the non-dominant, at the base of the racket or bat. Incorrect positioning of the shoulders and arms. This can be amended by the teacher repositioning the upper body. Providing positive feedback alongside encouragement allows students to further develop their self-esteem and confidence in all fields of physical activity. Resources and publications were found at the Department of Education Victoria, the Victorian Curriculum and other government websites. Pictures were sourced through Creative Commons and the lecture slides.